Recently, legendary film and TV star Angela Lansbury passed away. Though modern audiences better knew Angela for her tenure on the hit television series Murder, She Wrote, she was an acclaimed actress on both the film and stage that had been working since the days of old Hollywood. She continued working until her final years, with some of her final appearances being in the film Mary Poppins Returns and the Broadway play The Chalk Garden. Join Factsverse as we pay our respects to Angela Lansbury and take a look inside her final days. Hollywood legend Angela Lansbury recently passed away. Though many may first think of the hit 80s series Murder, She Wrote when they hear the actress's name, Angela was a versatile performer who was known for a great many things over the course of her career. She started out as a star on the screen in the days of old Hollywood, receiving one of her first notable roles in the hit psychological thriller Gaslight, released in 1944. In the decades since, she continued working consistently. According to the actress, she put the same enthusiasm into her final roles as she did into the roles she received at the beginning of her career. She was most passionate about acting on stage, and she was always anxious to get back out in front of an audience. She continued acting on Broadway until her final years, performing in the Chalk Garden from 2017 to 2018. Angela could also be seen on cinema screens in the years leading up to her recent death. She made a memorable appearance in the film Mary Poppins Returns. She had previously appeared in the similar Walt Disney live-action animation hybrid musical Bedknobs and Broomsticks. That was released in 1971, at which point Angela was already over 2 decades into her career. Few could have predicted the actress would still be at it nearly half a century later with the release of 2018's Mary Poppins Returns. She did her best to remain youthful throughout her life, crediting a daily regimen of vitamins and a glass of red wine with her vitality later in life. Even though she remained vigorous up until her final days, all things come to an end eventually. She chose not to put much emphasis on her age during her life. According to her, it didn't do much good to think about how old she was getting. Her main goal in life was to always simply continue doing what she loved, which she did her best to do until her recent death. Before becoming known to modern audiences as the star of Murder, She Wrote, Angela Lansbury was an acclaimed star who had worked with notable legends like Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley. She worked with Sinatra on the film The Manchurian Candidate, and the two reportedly stayed friends until Frank's death. Frank was reportedly a big fan of Murder, She Wrote later in his life, and invited Angela out to dinner with his wife so Angela could explain to them all the behind-the-scenes details of the show. Angela was apparently shocked that Frank expressed so much interest in the minutiae of Murder, She Wrote, as the show was little more than just a paycheck to her. She considered the show to be silly fun, but Frank apparently took it incredibly seriously. She ended up performing that role for over a decade. It lasted from 1984 till 96, over which time Angela stayed on to play the series' protagonist. Over those 12 years, 264 episodes of the series were produced. When the show was at its most successful in the ratings, Angela was earning several hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode, so maybe that's why she stayed on so long. Angela's time on Murder, She Wrote also saw her nominated for several Emmy Awards and Golden Globe Awards, a few of which she took home. She had already received awards recognition before Murder, She Wrote, having been nominated for several Academy Awards and Golden Globe Awards earlier in her career. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Factsverse for more, and stick around for more about Angela Lansbury. Although Angela Lansbury wasn't born into a show business family, she did have a famous grandfather. She was born in London in 1925, and her grandfather was a man named George Lansbury. He was the leader of the Labour Party from 1923 to 35, over which time he gained a great deal of respect from many of the hard-working citizens of the town. Because of this, Angela had several memories of seeing people come up to her grandfather in the streets during her childhood and offer their respects to the man. Angela's father had also been involved in politics, having been the mayor of a town in East London. Sadly, her father passed away from stomach cancer when she was only 9. Her grandfather passed away not long afterwards, dying in 1940. According to Angela, her grandfather's outspoken criticism of the war effort going into WW II somehow resulted in his death. After the death of her father and grandfather, Angela's mother moved her to New York City. There, the young woman began pursuing a career as an actress. By the time she was 17, Angela and her mother had moved to Hollywood, and she signed with MGM. She was signed to a 7-year contract, and her first big hit with the studio was 1944's Gaslight. She starred alongside Ingrid Bergman, and her performance earned her the first of 3 Academy Award nominations she would ever garner. The subsequent nominations came from her performances in The Picture of Dorian Gray and The Manchurian Candidate. Although Angela received immense acclaim for her performances, she didn't much enjoy the period of time she worked with MGM. She had a much better time in Hollywood after her contract with the studio ended, yielding hits such as the aforementioned Manchurian Candidate later on. Although she had broken out onto the scene via Hollywood, she later became much more passionate about stage acting. She debuted on Broadway in 1966, playing the lead in the play Mame. Apparently, Angela had to fight for the role against both Lucille Ball and Judy Garland. Her role in the production was a huge success, and her heart stayed on the stage for the ensuing decades, leading up to her death. Still, she took work elsewhere just to pay the bills, including on TV series like Murder, She Wrote. Angela was married 2 times throughout her life and had 2 children with her second husband. Her first was a man named Richard Cromwell. She married the fellow actor when she was only 19, and the marriage was short-lived. Richard was nearly twice her age and apparently was unsure of his sexuality throughout their marriage. They married in 1945 and were divorced in 1946. Several years later, Angela found lasting love with another actor, this time by the name Peter Shaw. She married him in 1949, and they remained married until Peter's death in 2003. Over the course of their marriage, they had a pair of children. Both of these children went on to have some troubles during their early adulthood, with one apparently becoming hooked on drugs and the other taking up with the Manson family. Despite the strange controversies Angela Lansbury's children became involved in, they ended up turning out okay later in life. The 2 of them are now both in their 60s and have found career success. One of them even worked as a writer and director on Murder, She Wrote, while the other runs a restaurant in Los Angeles. In the years following Angela Lansbury's decade-plus tenure as the lead on Murder, She Wrote, she continued working. Besides her appearance in Mary Poppins Returns and in The Chalk Garden, Angela could also be seen in the 2005 family film Nanny McPhee. Though she kept working, she also found herself increasingly enjoying her relaxation time in her old age. One of her passions in her final years was gardening. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite role ever played by Angela Lansbury? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.